Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Moon, and I am here with another exciting lecture. Today, we're going to be talking about counselor credentialing and supervision. So, why do we get credentials as counseling? First one is it's the process that we go through so that we can obtain certification or licensure to be able to practice as counselors. And the primary purpose of this is just to make sure that you guys or counselors have the education, they have the training, they know about ethics, and they're able to put all this together. So we're protecting the public and we are upholding the integrity of the profession. So there are different types of credentials for the type of counselor that you are going to be. Most of you guys are going to be school counselors, and I'll tell you about that. But even if eventually you're a school counselor and you're like, hey, I want to have my own private practice one day, you will probably become a licensed professional counselor, and that's an LPC. There are some other ones, a licensed mental health counselor, a national certified counselor, and I'll talk about that again in a minute, a certified clinical mental health counselor, and there are also some different state-specific certifications and licensure. For example, if you decide that you're going to go to California and you want to pursue credentials there, they often have some other courses that you need to take and perhaps different tests that you need to take to be able to be certified in that state. So a lot of times people say, oh, I'm here in Louisiana now, but I'm planning on moving to New York in a few years and I want to work on it there. I would recommend that you check and see what New York needs for you to take to be prepared to start working on your licensure in that state. Okay, so there's different parts of credentialing, and these are the different requirements. First of those is education. So they will want you to have completed a master's degree or a doctoral degree in counseling or a related field from an accredited institution. And ULM is an accredited institution, and we are credentialed by CACREP. I'm sure you've heard about that all the time. You see it all over your syllabuses, and that's who accredits us. You will also need to have clinical experience. And that is an accumulation of supervised clinical hours. And that ranges from around 2,000 hours to 4,000 hours, depending on the jurisdiction. So for example, I got my LPC in Alabama, and that required us to do 3,000 hours to be able to get that. And I know it sounds like a long time, and it is a long time. But once you do it and you finish it, you can be super proud of yourself and glad that you kind of slogged through all that. You also will have examinations that you need to pass. Standard counselor license exams like the National Counselor Examination, the NCE. There's also the National Clinical Mental Health Counseling Examination, and it has a big letter, NCMHCE. They love these acronyms. So what is the National Counselor Examination? That's the NCC, and it's a 200-item multiple choice test, and it assesses your knowledge and skills and your abilities determined to be important for providing effective counseling service. Usually the NCE is a requirement in most states for you to become licensed. And that's one of two options, examination options, the NCC certification. And that's a great thing to have because if you decide you're going to be a provider in military health systems, they recognize NCC certification. If I were you, I would definitely take the NCC probably one semester before you're going to graduate. It's good for you to go ahead and do it now because all of the things are still fresh in your mind. If you go down like me and you've been out for like 20 years, sometimes you forget all of those different things, like different theories or different types of techniques that you use. So while it's fresh in your head, go ahead and take that. You could take that. Also, you can take it the spring semester before you graduate or the semester that you're planning on graduating. But I say, hey, absolutely take it, and then you can be a national certified counselor, and then you will also be prepared for licensure in different states. There is also the Counselor Preparation Comprehensive Exam, which is the CPCE, and that is an exit exam that is designed to help test takers synthesize the different learnings that they've had about counseling, and it also helps us understand that you have a thorough understanding of attitudes, skills, and the knowledge related to the common core areas that are defined by CACREP. I think for now at ULM, all students have to take the CPCE. I don't know if it's going to continue to be that way in the future, but this is something that you will be taking. And I say on that, take it at least, not at least, but I would take it 3 semesters before you graduate. Because if you don't do well on it, one of those times, you can retake it and you don't have to stress, because I know a lot of people have stress about taking tests. The next credentialing requirement are ethical standards. And you want to be sure that you're adhering to ethical guidelines that are set forth by professional counsel associations. So that would be the ACA, or for school counselors, the American School Counselor Association. Or also we have ethical standards. If you decide that you're going to take the NCE and become a national certified counselor, then you will want to go by the ethics that the national board has for counselors. Now, school counselors, yay, that's us. So counselor credentialing in the school is very much the same. It involves you obtaining and maintaining certification or licensure specific to school counselor roles. And the primary purpose of this is to make sure that school counselors have education and training, they know about ethics, and they are effectively able to work with students on academic issues, their career issues, and any type of social emotional development that they have. So the different types of counselors, counselor certifications, you will probably, depending on what state you are, you will have to take an examination for that state to be able to become a certified school counselor to work in a K through 12 educational setting. So of course we have national board certification, which is optional for school counselors, but I say go ahead and do it. There are also credentials that you can get from the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards to recognize your advanced degrees in that area, your grants expertise in that area. There is also one that is called a school-based registered play therapist. This one is fairly new, and it is neat. It's through the Association for Play Therapy. It has you do some supervision in doing play therapy hours at a school, and it's a neat credential. I think if a long time ago they had this when I was graduating being a school counselor, I would definitely have worked on this this type of credential. So there are different credentialing requirements to be a school counselor. Of course, one is to get a master's degree in school counseling or a related field in an accredited institution. And that's going to include coursework that is specific to school counseling. Also, you will have clinical experience, and that is going to be a supervised practicum and an internship where you are going to be able to get experiences in school counseling in a school counseling setting that's going to help you get practical skills and knowledge for that. There's also going to be some examinations that you will take. I'm going to show you that on the next slide, but many states require you to take the praxis exam, and other states will require you to take their own type of exam. So if you were in Georgia, they have the GATE, which is their personal examination that all Georgia school counselors have to take. I think that most states accept the regular praxis, but you'll need to look at your state to be 100% sure what they want. Also, we're doing credentialing requirements because we, again, want to be able to uphold ethical guidelines and standards by ASCA, the American School Counseling Association. So here's the praxis that you'll be taking. It's the school counselor praxis, and it's going to show that entry-level counselors that are coming in, they've got knowledge, they've got skills, and they've got abilities to be competent and professional. This exam has a lot of different information on it. So as you are going through your different school counseling classes, I would start to take all of those things and put them in a big 3-ring binder with dividers, because I like to do dividers and things, and put all of these assignments and syllabuses and everything, lecture notes, different types of, if you have PowerPoints or whatever, start putting together that as a little booklet. So when it's time for you to start preparing for the praxis, you will already have a really good study guide that you can go through your classes and you can review everything. And I'm going to start making some school counselor praxis YouTube videos for you, and you can like just listen to them while you're doing housework or something like that. And I'll talk about all of the different things that you will want to know or you will want to review before you take the praxis. Now, this is so much fun. In order to keep your LPC license or to keep your school certification current, you will have to do what is known as continuing education units. Continuing education units are, for the most part, they're a lot of fun. It's when you go and you take classes that are interesting to you. There's be a workshop or different things at a conference, and you will get CEUs for that. For me, for my LPC license, I have to get 75 CEUs every 2 years. And you need to be careful when you're doing your CEUs because most states require that the majority of those be where you're actually at the place. So that would be virtual. You are actually going to a conference. You are going to a workshop at a location, and they want those to be live hours. And then the rest of them, which is probably about 10, they will allow you to do those kind of on your own in home study courses, or you can go online and find different courses where you watch a presentation and then you can take a test and learn more about that. This past year, I've taken a lot of really unusual ones that I've found. One of them was called Profiling Mass Murderers, and that was really more for psychologists who are, people that actually work with that type of population. But I thought, I'm just going to take something that I find unusual and interesting and learn more about that. So this year I've done that. I've also taken one that was called Awestruck, and it talked about using happiness therapy with clients. And I also thought that that was very, very interesting. So you can go online and you can research these different things and find what's interesting to you and take those classes and have a lot of fun. So the renewal periods vary by different states, but they're normally 1 to 3 years, and they involve submitting evidence that you have actually done those. So for me in Alabama, it's every 2 years, and I have to have, I think 40 CEUs, maybe a little bit more than that. I'll check just 100% to be sure, but I do that. So if you become a national certified counselor, you will also have to show that you have done over 100 hours every 5 years. And I recommend that once you start that, you make you an Excel spreadsheet where every time you go to a CEU, you will get a certificate, which has the hours that are on the certificate, and start to make documentation for that. Because sometimes the states will say, you keep your own documentation, but we may audit a handful of people, and you would have to show them that you had actually done that. Also, for the National Certified Counselor, you will also keep a list of that, and then you will give that to them every 5 years so that they can take a look at that and make sure that you are on point. You're gonna, it's just one of those things. It's very, very expensive, honestly. Most of the time to be able to get one CEU is maybe 3 CEUs is around $60, $75, depending. So it's very pricey. And then when you actually renew your license, that costs additional funds on top of that. So I think for me, it's around $300 every 2 years. Also, you have to take CEUs that will keep you current as a certified school counselor, and you'll need to take those. And I think mine is like every 9 years, maybe 10 years. I have to show them that I have done a number of CEUs and that I have kept up so that my degree is current. And I believe this year it cost me $38 to be able to renew it for another 10 years. So that's not as bad as the other one. In order to be a good counselor, you are going to be involved in supervision. And supervision is just a collaborative relationship. It's between a licensed supervisor and a counselor in training, or a practicing counselor. And the whole reason that we have supervision is to help you grow in the profession, to help you work on your clinical skills, and to make sure that you are ensuring client welfare and to prevent burnout in yourself. And this is what we do in our practicum and internship classes. Different types of supervision. Your site is going to have a site supervisor, and that is the person that works with you, shows you the ropes, helps you look at case conceptualization, and that will be one-on-one sessions with you and your supervisor. When you're in practicum and internship, you will spend 1 hour a week hanging out with that person and talking about the different things that you're doing. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to sit down with them for a full hour. You can meet with them throughout the week and talk about the different things that are going on, and all of that will add up to be an hour. The next type is group supervision, and that is what you will have with me or with one of the other faculty members that is your university instructor, your university site, well, not site supervisor, but your university supervisor. And in group supervision, you will have different classmates in there. I believe for us, it caps at 6. And you will come once a week for an hour and a half and talk about what's going on at your school, talk about different case studies that you had, things that are going on with kids. And I also, like in mine, will talk about different techniques that you can use. Again, you guys know that I really love art therapy and any type of art therapy stuff. So I will load your toolbox up with different things that you can use with kids that they find a lot of fun. There's a third type of supervision called peer supervision, and that's when you collaborate and work with your peers that they assist you with stuff. So a lot of times in practicum or internship, you will be showing a video and your peers will watch that, and then you will have a discussion on what they thought about it and what things that you did great and what things that you can improve upon. Okay, so there are some key components to supervision. The first one of those is evaluation and feedback. And that is when the site supervisor assesses what you're doing and they sit down and they give you constructive feedback and things that you can improve. The next part is case consultation. That is when you are working with a client and you bring that to your supervisor or your university supervisor, and you talk about different approaches that you can take, different techniques that you can use. And this is really great because you can start to figure out what your theory is, what your model of being a counselor is, and how you will apply the different techniques that come from that to the cases that you work with students. And then the final one is professional development. And during this, you have some guidance on your career goals. You're talking about ethical dilemmas, and you're also talking about taking care of yourself as a counselor. Of course, we have ethics in supervision. The first of those is confidentiality, and that's where you keep client confidentiality throughout the supervision process. The next one is competence, and that is making sure that your supervisor has the necessary skills and expertise to provide effective supervision. So for myself, I have an LPCS, which is a licensed professional counselor supervisor, which means I have gone through some extensive training to be able to supervise you. Your site supervisor may or may not have this credential, but as long as they are a licensed counselor in counseling or in a related field, then they are able to work with you. And then, and just another thing on that. If you decide that you were going to become a licensed professional counselor, you will have a LPCS in all of these instances. That will be someone that has that credential. They will meet with you as you work on your 3,000 hours. And I will be honest with you, it's very expensive to get your LPC because you will have to pay that LPCS a good amount of money. Like in Alabama, for a month of that, it can run upwards of like $600 to $800. So depending on the state that you're in, it may be more than that, it may be less than that. But just be prepared that when you start working on that, it will be an expensive thing that you go to. But you'll do it, and then you will have your credential, and you can start supervising other counselors as they come up. And I recommend that you look forward to doing that because we like to give back in the field. So becoming a site supervisor in the future is always a good thing. And then the last part of supervision ethics are boundaries. And in this, you clarify roles and responsibilities and the different expectations between the supervisor and the supervisee. So there you go. That is credentialing in a nutshell. If you have any questions, you can always email me, and I am happy to work with you and help you to learn the different things to becoming a great counselor.